Health officials in Colorado say they have identified the first case of a new, fast-spreading COVID-19 variant in the United States. The strain was first identified in England, where cases are surging. Colorado officials say the man is in his 20s and is currently in isolation. He has no travel history. U.S. health officials have repeatedly warned that the new variant is already likely circulating here. More than 19.5 million Americans have tested positive coronavirus since the start of the pandemic. More than 338,000 people here have died. One of those deaths is Louisiana Congressman-elect Luke Letlow. He died from the virus on Tuesday. Earlier this month, Letlow won a runoff election to represent the state's 5th district in Congress. He announced his COVID diagnosis on December 18th. He was just 41 years old. Thankfully, there is some good news. British regulators have authorized the emergency use of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine. People there could start receiving it as soon as this week. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins me now from London. Charlie, how significant an accomplishment is the emergency use of approval of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine, not just in the UK, but globally?
Well, Chip, it's a huge deal, obviously here in the UK, because of reasons we'll get into in a minute, the way this virus has been surging in the past couple of weeks. But it is cheaper than Pfizer and Moderna. It only ever has to be kept at regular refrigerated temperatures. It's easier to produce. Now, that means you can send it out and hold these mass vaccinations. Not here in the UK, where they're fully capable of doing that, in the United States, but in third world countries where they would struggle with refrigeration, where they might struggle with hygiene and mass vaccination centers. So this has been described as a vaccine for the globe, and one that will transform the fight against COVID for all of those reasons.
Charlie, you just touched on this, but let me ask you to put your doctor hat and your stethoscope on. What exactly makes it different from the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which is currently being distributed across the country?
Well, it starts getting a little bit technical, involving messenger RNA, but essentially what it is what encases the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine is susceptible to temperatures, not even high temperatures, but room temperatures. Say you have the Pfizer vaccine, it needs to reach its last destination point, and this is where it's really critical. It's that last step. That has to be used up within 3.5 to 5 days, so it has a very limited shelf life once you thaw it out. The AstraZeneca vaccine can stay indefinitely, just needs to be refrigerated. So it is not as vulnerable as the other vaccines. It is more stable, less unstable than the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines.
Okay, you can go back to being your non-doctor self. Health officials are hoping to begin vaccinating roughly 1 million people a week with the AstraZeneca vaccine. How do they plan on doing this? That sounds like a very bold effort. And what do we know about the vaccine's rollout so far?
It is extremely ambitious, Chip, and I think even government ministers are saying that it's going to be extremely ambitious. What they have already planned and what they've already started building are mass distribution centers in places like soccer stadiums and racetracks. And once again, you can accelerate the distribution of the Pfizer vaccine. That one has been approved here. Moderna has not yet. The Pfizer vaccine is currently being distributed. But up until now, I think they started December 8th. They've had maybe 600,000 people who've been vaccinated. Yes, in order to try to catch up to the spread of this disease, they need between 1 and 2 million people a week. That means you've got to go out to the care centers, the elderly homes. You have to get mass distribution centers in schools and stadiums. Again, this has already been started. It's already set up. Now the mass production and distribution needs to take place. The CEO of AstraZeneca today, Pascal Soriot, said they have millions that will be ready to go. So he's promising to ramp up the distribution. Another key component here is, unlike the Pfizer vaccine, which is manufactured in Belgium, this is manufactured right here in the UK. So that all speeds up the process in order to get it to as many people as soon as possible. The other key, and I haven't even touched on this yet, and it's fundamental to the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine, The regulators here determined that they only need to give the people that need it most one shot, and they can wait another 3 months, up to 12 weeks, before they have to administer the second shot. Now, that means you can give hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people if they have the capacity, enough immunity to protect them during that 12-week period. In other words, you don't need to have 2 doses per recipient. You can start spreading it out so everybody gets 1 dose, and by 12 weeks, they should have enough to follow up with that second dose, and that will be a game changer.